Hello, it is Feminista Jones, and I'm going to record some of my thoughts for the first video for my patrons, right? This is exclusive content just for you. And I am so happy. I want to start by saying that I am so appreciative of everyone who supports my content, support my work. If you've been paying attention, I do not use Twitter much anymore other than to promote my own work and my own content and to direct people to supporting that work. I've decided that having these, live conversations and things like that for free really does not fit what I want to do right now. So I've decided to not do it. If you want to check up on me on day-to-day things, you can follow me on Instagram, same name, Feminista Jones, or you can follow my Facebook fan page, which is facebook.com/Feminista Jones official. And you got me here on Patreon, so you'll continue to get the content based on the level of support that you have. All right, so we're going to get right into it. So today's topic is cancel culture. I did tweet a little bit about this a few months ago because I've really been thinking about um, this obsession some folks seem to have with canceling people. And what does that mean for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about? So, some person or some brand says or does something that they don't like, and a person will say they're canceled. The most recent example I can think of is H&M. They posted an advertisement of a hoodie with a black boy wearing, I think it said, coolest monkey in the jungle. And a lot of people were upset. Yes, it was culturally inappropriate. We know the history of Black people being compared to monkeys, and it was really bothersome. And then I think the white boy had like a hoodie that was like something about explore or something. I don't know, but there was a lot of like anger around that, and I understand, justifiably so. It was just in 2018; these are just not the things that you need to be doing. So people were like, H&M is canceled and they're done and we're going to boycott them and da 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 da. Okay, right. That sounds like a good effort. Unfortunately, these things tend to not really catch on because next month H&M will have an amazing sale and everyone will be flocking to H&M to get the clothing that they love. Right? We know that to be true. They may not post pictures on Instagram of them wearing that H&M clothing, but they will do it. And so it goes for pretty much everything. And I think, I think we've gotten to a place where we don't understand nuance. We don't understand context. We don't understand forgiveness. We don't understand humanity. And by that, I mean that we're human beings. We make mistakes. We say the wrong things. We do the wrong things. That's why apologies exist. That's why we say, I'm sorry. Because we, as human beings, will do things that will bother someone. They will offend someone. They will upset people in ways that are just like they don't want anything to do with you, and they just kind of push you away. And it's up to the offending party to make amends, right? Somewhere along the way, we decided that people are not allowed to be forgiven for things, or we forgive people based on the value they provide in our lives. So your favorite feminist tweeter can say something about Beyonce that you don't like, and you decide that one, she's canceled, two, she needs to lose her job, three, she needs to experience a social death. There's a tweeter, House Mother Miles, I think his last name is Johnson. He tweeted a really great thread about the thirst for social death and how in social media spaces, those who are envious of people with larger platforms and huger followings can't wait to see for those people to have a downfall of something. They wish for it. They hope for it. They want to see people knocked off whatever pedestal others put on them, even though the people themselves are human and they may be doing incredible good in the world, but they make one mistake and people are waiting, they are salivating, they are chomping at the bit for that person to have a downtime or a period of need or want or make a mistake or something so they can come in and just try to create some kind of a social death, right? Because it makes them feel better about all the things they haven't accomplished, right? To see someone fall makes them feel temporarily better, which speaks more to them than it does to the person who's doing the fall, right? So cancel culture really relies on this idea that, somebody makes a mistake, they've got to go. You can't do this. We've decided that these are the guidelines for humanity and human behavior. And if you don't adhere to these and if you don't live up to these, you deserve to be canceled and erased and no longer supported. Well, those of us born before 1980 understand that that is not how life works. No shade. But I find that the younger generation, because they've grown up in this digital world, right? They've grown up in this world where they've had instant access to people. They've had cell phones, internet, things like that. I'm not even talking about social media, but they have this connectivity in which they believe entitles them to have access to people's lives, their thoughts, their everyday, doings. And so they don't know what it means to miss someone. They don't know what it means to be distanced from someone. They don't know what it means to forgive and forget. They don't really know what it means to process evolution because they are constantly in touch with people. You see the same people every single day, several times throughout the day. You're contacting them. There's little space for you to just be yourselves without it being connected to someone else. And I think that that's having a very detrimental effect on our culture. And I've spoken about that before, so you've seen it. I think it's really interesting that we are so quick to dispose of someone for doing something wrong, rather than saying, hey, you did this wrong thing. You shouldn't do it anymore. Here's a way you can make up for it. And we want to continue to support you, but we can't if this is the stance that you're taking on things, or if this is your just natural approach. And if it is your natural approach, we'd like to help you think about this differently. So here's a way to do it. Now, I will say that I found, over the years, I found myself kind of caught up in that same kind of call out culture and cancel culture and being like, how dare you, blah, 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 blah. But then I realized I don't think this is the way that we need to go about this. And I started seeing it happening all the time. And I think one of the biggest issues I had was the perpetual rage that some people thrive on. How can you be angry all the time is the question that I had. And so I started thinking about the cultural implications, the gender-based implications, all of the things that would cause a person to be angry all the time. So I am a Black queer woman. I am a larger woman. I am, someone who comes from poverty. I have a lot of reasons to resent society and to be angry at the ways in which society has worked really hard to make my existence and living in this world very difficult, right? Yet still I managed to thrive, and I'm one of a few that have. Doesn't mean that there aren't systemic issues or pervasive issues that continue to affect people like me who have not had the resources that I have. But it's one of those things where I'm just like, I get why some people are just kind of perpetually angry in the, I guess, a more intellectual sense or cerebral sense. But to carry that anger on your fingertips all the time, waking up angry, looking for things to be mad about, spending so much time raging out against things, I don't think that that's healthy. And I think that having this proximity to people's behaviors, this perpetual behaviors, or these things that happen all the time, this 24-hour news cycle, this access to social media, these scrolling, posts and tweets and things, these updates and all of that stuff, the refresh mode, you're getting new stuff and you're constantly taking it in. It's hard not to spend your whole day being angry because you're just being exposed to so much ignorance and hatred. So you have to kind of make a decision. Do I want to continue to absorb this, or do I want to step back and kind of refocus my energy on other things? Unfortunately, for some people, they can't do that. And so they end up absorbing so much negativity that it starts to change them and who they become. They become addicted to taking people down and taking brands down and calling out people. And I think that that's problematic. And I think that we need to examine the ways in which we all, contribute to that and perpetuate it. But I think with this new wave of cancel culture, I think that we have to be mindful that we don't lose sight of humanity. Okay. And I think that we are in an era where we are very close to losing our understanding of humanity. And we are beginning to see each other as products, as commodities, almost as robotic, artificial intelligence, um, things to consume rather than people to know. And so I think also part of why I've pulled back, from Twitter and social media in that way is because I had to remind myself that I am a human being and I feel joy, I feel pain, I feel encouragement, I feel depression. I experience all of those things and I don't ever want to lose sight of it. I don't want to ever lose connection to those things that make me a human being. And I find that living my life and playing my life out in digital spaces has deteriorated, those parts of my humanity. And I'm being intentional about reclaiming that. And so I think that with cancel culture, if you become intentional about retaining your humanity, then you can respect and see and honor the humanity in other people. And what that means is that you allow for people to mess up and to make mistakes. And you give them opportunity to learn and to make amends and to grow. And I think about things that I've, said and written and tweeted and shared and posted, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And I'm like, I'm not that person anymore. There may be some elements of me that are still the same, but I'm not that person anymore. So I'm going to take a little drink of my drink. I'm not, and I don't want to be held to that particular standard because I think I've done enough to show that I don't subscribe to that way of thinking anymore. And I've grown, I've learned from having that exposure to other people, and I have moved forward. We have to allow that. We have to extend grace to people. We have to remember that the best way to learn is to mess up, right? To be challenged, to be questioned, to question things around us. And as long as we screenshot and bring up old things and be like, hey, remember when you said this? And, even though we see evidence that a person has changed, we're not doing any positive service. Now, if a person continues to carry on and show that they have not learned anything, like Lena Dunham or R. Kelly or Chris Brown, then we just have to those people I'm like, you make the choice. Do you support them or not? There's certain people I just don't support because they've shown no interest in changing or rehabilitating or anything like that. But there are people who, I think that we engage each other on social media and think that that is representative of the world, and it's not. Twitter is still a very, very, very small faction, small percentage of the world's population. And so we cannot expect that everyone has access to the same, discourse and intellectual developments that we do. I am a woman who went to boarding school. I went to an Ivy League university. I have degrees with an S. I have certifications. I have had over 15 years of experience in my field. I am a writer. I have 2 books published. I'm working on another. I have, access to resources, and I've had intellectual experiences that allow me to think a lot differently than most of the people that live in my neighborhood. So what does that mean? I either have an obligation to try to help them learn more, or I can spend my time condemning them for the ways in which they think, which many ways I once thought before I gained knowledge and gained access to this type of enlightenment. So I want to say that, I think that now is the time to kind of examine where we're going, because with so much going on between the movements that are being built to empower women, to this resistance against Donald Trump and his administration, to our condemnation of the United States' role in terrorism around the world, there's so much going on. There's so many threats to our comforts and our ways of life that it seems like it's a whole lot going on at once. I think now is the time to slow down and to pull back and to say, wait a minute, let's not forget that we are human beings. We will make mistakes. We will choose the wrong path. We will fuck up. But what makes us human is what we learn from that and how we go forward and how we engage each other and extend each other grace and have empathy and understanding. And we try not to throw people away because they make a mistake. Right? So that's my thoughts on, those are my thoughts on cancel culture. And my plea for all of us to kind of really think about how complicit we are in this and what we could do to change. All right? Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you at the next one.